God. So it's created a lot of buzz. So I'm nervous now.
Oh, come
You
on,
can't be
Manju.
nervous. You can't be nervous, that we know. Definitely not. And not you, definitely. Sure. Okay.
Uh,
But I think it's not about the buzz or something. It's about the topic, and it's about the people that they're actually seeing value in it.
right,
So I
right.
think that's why, yeah, people are here. So thank you so much for joining in. I would like to introduce with whatever little knowledge that I have, uh, working with Manju. Yeah. So I think I've been knowing Manju since maybe around 2011. Yeah. And since 2011, I have seen this guy implementing agility, just not in the organization, but by thoughts or by his life. Whatever he believes in, he actually takes it, that he understands it. And I have seen Manju growing through those agile principles, right from an employee in an organization or a consultant, and then now an enterprise coach, to a very big MNC like Schneider. That speaks a lot about this particular individual. I have seen Manju getting into a lot of knowledge spectrums, be it Scrum, be it Agile, be it training, or innovative training, or engaging people, or say Kanban as an area, or SAFe, Scrum at scale. Awesome. I mean, as far as the concentration of knowledge is concerned in this particular individual is really amazing. So thank you so much, Manju, for actually delivering this session. And yeah, I would welcome all of you guys to take the benefit. It's over to you, Manju. You are live.
Thank you, Vijay, for those kind words. And folks, I know Vijay has been talking so much about me, gaga about me, but one of the reason what I am today here is because of one of my mentor, and you can guess it who it is. It is none other than Vijay Vade. So we started
Oh,
learning
thank you.
Agile long ago, and he has taught me a lot. And thanks for your kind words. And you are what you are, Vijay. That makes you one of the best human being. Most of us we can echo for that. All right, thank you so much, people, for joining late evening. Okay, somebody is sharing the screen, Vijay. I think you need to unshare.
Oh, yes, you can now.
Yes, I can. All right, thank you so much. So let's get started. I know it's a time box for an hour, so one of the principle of agility is all about time boxing it. So let's get started. So what is today evening topic? So it is called what not to do, a checklist. So many of us are very fascinated or fond of checklists, isn't it? So that's where I thought probably why don't we call it as a checklist. So I'm calling it as a checklist for leaders and successful people. So many a times there is a there are a lot of confusion and chaos about who is a leader, who is a successful people and all. So we'll speak as we move forward. So a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Manjunath MS Rao. So I've been in this agility space for since 2005. Fortunate to work with many seasoned coaches and consultants and trainers like Vijay Vade and many of them who has been mentoring and helping me in this journey. Currently, I'm associated with Vijay in AgileWaters as a partner. Plus, I also run a company called Transformative Labs. We are into leadership agility and organizational agility space. So when I say leadership agility, so I'm an agile leadership journey guide. So where our specialization is to work with leaders in shaping up the culture, in shaping up the overall transformation of the organization. So I'm really enjoying that journey currently. As Vijay mentioned, I'm working with one of a large MNC in helping them in attaining or embracing business agility in a pure electromechanical system, which is kind of a very unique experience and experiment. I'm learning a lot and plus helping many leaders and teams in that journey. So that's a little bit background and let's get started. So though the title says what not to do and what is the net and things like that, basically this session is going to be a glimpse or a summary of a book called What Got You Here Won't Take You There: How Successful People Become Even More Successful by Marshall Goldsmith. So let me ask this question: how many of you have really read this book before and you are you're aware or maybe implemented some of these practices? Maybe can you raise your hands so that I know I have a few people to latch onto if I get stuck. If I'm not able to convey some concepts, I can take some of help from you to convey the key message from this book. How many
I
of you
read
read the book?
I read the title of the book many times, but that is in my in my reading list, because the second half of our career, that is much more important, because whenever we put some training, this is one of the sentence that we put, because what you got here won't take you further. Yeah.
Okay. Is it Hari or Prasad?
Yeah.
Oh, Hari, we did talk about this book multiple times in our ENT CAT program, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, buddy. Okay, anybody else has read this book or tried implementing some of these concepts? All right, no problem. So we'll explore it together. So we have an hour to explore. Just a little bit background about Mr. Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall Goldsmith, he's one of the most sought executive and leadership coach in the world. Right, he's considered as the top thinker, most influenced leader, and he has written 36 books in leadership space, leadership agility space. And amazing guy. So I've been following some of his videos and started reading some of his books. There's a lot of insights, and the good part is he firmly believes in personal agility, and he's coaching and teaching many of his experiments and concepts free of cost for handpicked around, I think, 100 coaches in the world. So in fact, he published an article, I think the last year during pandemic. If somebody is interested, they can apply for personal coaching, and that's how he is bringing and building the social agility experiment as well. Okay, let's get into the crux of this book. What it talks about is basically all about change management. We all know, we are going through the VUCA world. There are so many challenges and issues, and what makes the journey unique is people. And when we say people, we know the leaders play a very key role. I mean, sometimes the title or the norm of leadership itself is confusing. So that's why I'm calling it as a successful people and leaders, because many a times the successful people may occupy those leadership positions, but some of them, they may become very they don't want to be in the limelight. They don't want to be in the spotlight, but they do a lot of work keeping that humanity and many of those principles and values in mind. And that's where we start noticing it. For example, recently, if you start noticing some of the Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan kind of people on the ground, amazing, they are exhibiting a lot of leadership attributes, but probably it's not well known. So we're going to touch both the spectrum of the things in this current next hour. So we all know change is permanent, but many of us, we know we don't like to change personally. That is what is the problem. That's where is the challenge is all about. Because we say, yes, changes has to happen. And even if you come to the organization agility, context, especially if you keep attending many of such webinars or conferences, at least in the past, when I used to go and attend the conferences, I used to really get sometimes annoyed, because many of us as a practitioners go and crib about, okay, everything is fine, agile practices are good, frameworks are good, but leaders are not changing, leaders are not helping, leaders are not understanding. And I used to think, have we, many of us as a coaches and trainers, have we put ourselves into their shoes? Why are they not changing? Why are they resisting it? Why are they behaving in such a way that this transformation journey is not happening quickly or so easily? And then it started actually making me to start think and do some experiments and read some books, read some articles, and that's where it led me into this fascinating world of leadership. So essentially, if you see, most of the even if you read or attend any of these leadership or change management kind of courses, they essentially teach us as a leaders or mid-level managers and program managers, whatever the role you are in, which is leading people, leading organization, leading change. So they teach us what we should be doing it. We should understand people, we should be having empathy, we should be challenge the status quo, and so on and so forth. But on the other side, what we understand is there are so many tools and techniques and methods being taught for us. Okay, if you want to be a good leader, if you want to be a successful person, you need to do this. But the need of an hour, from my point of view, is what Marshall Goldsmith also says, is to understand what not to do as a leader. Because the moment we understand what not to do, so we'll be able to really turn around the story and start making some difference. For example, how many of you are really big fan of Chet Wrong videos? Wrong way of doing agile. Any one of you? I mean, would you like to raise your hand? How many of you are a big fan of Chet Wrong, not how not to do agile? Okay, Vijay is showing his hand. Okay, Hari is a big fan, looks like. Anybody else who have watched these videos from Chet Wrong, wrong way of doing agile? Yeah. So it's actually so fascinating, right? The moment you start looking at that video, you'll realize, oh my God, this is how I should not be doing it. This is how an agile planning should not be done. This is how that retrospection should not be done. The same way, if we are able to get some kind of a glimpse of what not to do as a leader, some kind of a checklist or a bad habits kind of a summary, how awesome it is, right? That is what we are going to talk about. So a little bit of context setting and connecting the dots. There is a lot of discussion now. It is a period. I mean, we are going through this big storm of resignation era. There's a lot of conversation which says that people leave bosses, not companies, and blah blah blah. But that made me to think once how it can be true, because if people are leaving bosses or managers or leadership is the major reason, but these are the same people. If you look at these managers, if you look at these leaders, if you look at these people managers or whatever the role where you are leading the people, and some of your team members are leaving because of you, but is it not kind of if you look at, these are the same set of people who have been handpicked by their own leaders, right? If I'm a leader or I'm a manager, I will be handpicked as a leader or a manager by my boss or maybe a set of other leaders because of my successful record, because of my certain behaviors, because of my certain contribution or value to the organization. So then what is the missing link here? If my leader, my people above me or in the hierarchy or my leaders consider me as a good manager or a leader and they handpick me and groom me as a leader, whereas my next level people think that I'm not a good leader or maybe a good manager and they are planning to leave. I mean, if that is the case, right? So then that's also started making me think, and then I got some of the answers from this book. So, and another aspect to look at too is many of us are going through this mid-career crisis, isn't it? Like, even when many of us are so talented, we are hardworking, we are so passionate, we have very good knowledge and skills and competencies and all those stuff. And many of us are also in a very good, must be in a certain good positions, maybe in terms of company or a salary or whatever it is. But still, many of us are feeling get stuck, isn't it? How many of you are really feeling get stuck? I mean, I'm not growing. I'm, probably I'm not getting the right opportunity, or maybe I know what is next for me. And I also feel that I am very good. I am capable, right? I am really capable in terms of competencies and skills. And many a times when I go for my appraisal conversation with my boss, they say, he or she says that, hey, you know what, you are meeting all this consistently goals and you're exceeding some places, but I'm not able to promote you. I'm not able to get you that bigger opportunity. I'm not able to get you this bigger responsibility. So many times it makes us really think frustrated. And when we ask for the feedback, many a times few managers will literally share that, saying that you need to improve on that, you need to improve on this. But many a times we don't get that clear answers, that why I am not being handpicked for the next role, why I'm not being considered for that bigger role or a bigger responsibility. So that makes us also start thinking, it's like human being, being human being natural, right? Like when my manager says that I am good, I am capable, but at the same time, I'm not getting a good opportunity or maybe hike or a promotion or whatever you want to call it, that actually start making us to stop believing in the system, appraisal system, performance management system, right? We start labeling the organization, we start labeling the leaders, and even my manager saying that, appraisal system here is done for the for the sake of doing it. We somehow we get those 3 or whatever rating it is. And leadership, they say that we help and groom leaders, but it doesn't happen. We start getting into those, many of us start getting into the trap. Okay, this is how it works. This is what it is. So we have a few choices. One is just be there, get stuck and start cribbing about it. Few of us take a bold step and probably learn some new things and move out. Some of us also get into a down spiral and get into a lot of other challenges and so on and so forth. So if this is what is happening, and another thing which is based on my experience, I don't know, maybe I would like to hear from your experiences, is most of the appraisal systems are designed in such a way that they say your performance for this year will be only looked in based on this year performance. It could be in terms of your promotion, it could be whatever the capabilities and stuff like that. But this year you would have done extraordinary well, and you go and ask for promotion, they'll say, you know what, you did well, but last year or before that, or I would like to see you a trend. So then you start thinking, oh my God, it says, what matters is current year performance, but you're also looking at the previous thing. What is that previous thing? It's like a vicious circle, right? So that actually made me to think that, this is one mantra which I believe in, is success comes before work only in the dictionary. So we need to keep on working ourselves and improve ourselves and keep focusing and so on and so forth. So if we are going through many of these questions personally, I know many of you who, if you have gone through this career kind of confusions and roadmap and all, there are a couple of options to take care. One is find a coach. It could be a career coach, or it could be a mentor, or it could be somebody what you want to become. Find out such people and engage a nice coaching conversation. Try out, figure it out, what is in it for you, and how can we do it. That could be one way of doing it. And there are multiple ways you can tackle if you get stuck in such kind of scenarios. Now, so if this is what we are looking at, so let me stop here maybe for a few seconds and hear any perspective. So are you all with me so far? Is it making sense what I'm talking about? Any perspective building before we get into the next set of slides and next set of conversation? Anybody want to share any of your thoughts? Please feel.
Yes, Manju, I can totally relate to what you explained just now, and eagerly waiting for the next solution you might be proposing.
I don't have any solution. We need to discover it. Let's see. That's the best part. Being a coach, right? I don't give solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a kidding. But yes, we will discover that. Anybody else? Any other thoughts you have, which is worth sharing? Have you gone through this? I know many of us may not be comfortable to accept or talk about mid-career or whatever crises or whatever I'm going through. But at least if you want to, and if you want to really share some perspective, you can. Or if you were sailing through this boat, how did you overcome? All right. Looks like you folks need some more time. No problem at all. So when you look back, and we discuss some of these things, and people, when you say that people are leaving their bosses or managers, so that made me start thinking about, okay, these are the successful people. When you say a manager or a leader, they are handpicked, and they must be, they would have done certainly well. Because of that, they are getting into this position. But what is going wrong with such people? So many cases in Marshall Goldsmith, what he says, it is the repeated patterns or the behavior which will leads to results, which reinforce the confidence and self-esteem and strong belief system. So what, I mean, if I want to simplify and say that, certain words, we, all of us as a human beings, we will find out what is our success mantra, or we will find out what is our way to get into a success mode. It could be through hard work. It could be through smart work. It could be through, learning quickly. It could be through slogging. It could be through finding a right set of mentors and coaches or whatever. And many of us also get into some kind of I would not call it a bad behavior, but more like, okay, put pressure, make, use some kind of an emotional game to get your stuff done, or use your, what we typically in management world called carrot and sticks, or use your, authority to get the stuff done, and or have your own style of leadership. Maybe, some leaders may be very aggressive, some may be very, whatever it is. So we will start trying out many experiments with ourselves. When it comes to success, when it comes to your own leadership role, you will start seeing something works and something doesn't work. And the moment we start seeing something works, we'll tend to stick onto it because it reinforces that what I'm doing is correct. What I'm doing is correct. It could be, sometimes it could be a bad behavior, right? And it becomes very difficult to get rid of many of these behavioral patterns, right? So it could be, but internally, you will start feeling a little bit comfortable and good about it because it is giving you that taste of success. Because of this is what I am getting success. So maybe it is good for me. Let me continue because I am leading, because I'm managing well. I'm getting recognized. I'm getting promoted. I'm getting what is required. I'm getting this authority. I'm getting whatever it is, and then that will become like a behavioral pattern or reinforces that this is good. This is good for me. And this, once this gets into that belief system, and I will start taking charge of my success, and it becomes like your second nature. And the moment that happens, all of us will start thinking that, okay, if I can succeed in office, if I can succeed in this role, if I can succeed in this organization, it makes us to get into this, whatever, we want to call it as imagination, the imaginary world, that if I can succeed and master here, I can do it anywhere. It could be personal life project, any assignment for that matter, and things like that. And it starts enforcing that whatever may be the behavior, whatever may be my thinking pattern or analytical or emotional, whatever the nature I am, if I am successful, I can succeed and I will succeed and I will choose to succeed. So that will become like our part of, you want to call it as confidence or overconfidence. Let's not discuss and debate and get into that mode, because you get a lot of answer to these questions in this book if you read it through, right? So sometimes this may lead to some behavioral patterns which is not acceptable by others. It could be your peers, it could be your managers, it could be whosoever it is, it could be sometimes family members. But we start ignoring those signals because anyway, I'm getting success. Anyway, this is acceptable. My organization is accepting these behavioral patterns. My HR is okay with that. My manager is okay with that. So why to bother to change many of these patterns, right? So sometimes it becomes like a kind of a superstitious belief, and this is my USP kind of a pattern, and that is where we get stuck. That's what even Marshall Goldsmith says, that you are stuck there. You are not growing because of those kind of that belief systems that this is what is your success. This is what you are, kind of an that illusion or a superstition belief. So, and when you start looking at, if you want to, if you're in a corporate or business or wherever you are, and if you want to really grow up or higher up in the ladder, technically you need to be strong, no doubt about it. But most of the issues we start talking about a particular leader is not the technical issues. And we might figure it out that, okay, this guy is not from that domain, or this person may not be expert in that area, or maybe an extraordinary talent in that product or a domain. But more than considering that, we'll start noticing those behavioral patterns, how this leader behaves, how this leader inspires, how this leader carry forward or engage everybody, kind of. That becomes a prominent, the behavioral or the soft skill patterns becomes a very widely seen things rather than, looking into the technology world. So do you agree? So when that happens, when certain leader is there and you start asking them, or maybe ask them to reflect on all those stuff, that is where if you go and talk about that, hey, what, you are an highly established and proven leader, but there are some things, if you can make those changes, you can really grow up to the next level, or you can really make a difference to your people. And that's where the resistance kicks in, because we start getting into that confusion mode. Hey, I have reached here because of this. And, I am here. This is my title. This is my position. This is what I am. And what are you talking about? Right? Many of us as a human beings, that resistance will kick in and we get into that vicious cycle. So this is typically what the summary of, how this illusion of success and how is that sometimes derail us from getting into what we want to go to the next level. So before I go, let me stop here or pause here and ask anyone of you have any thoughts further, or are you all with me? Is it making sense so far? Any questions?
Yeah, with you, making sense.
All right. What others? Okay. Cool. So now let's talk about how to notice these anti-patterns, or what we call some of these behavioral issues, or the factors, attributes which is not helping me to grow to the next level, right? It is not that somebody will come and point out to me, but rather one of the greatest asset for all of us as human beings is that awareness, right? Self-awareness. And this is more prominent and more required for us when we are in a leadership position. So then how do we notice these anti-patterns and start making some of these changes? Let's talk about it, okay? So first and foremost is, we have been taught that why to make some of these behavior changes? What is in it for me? And many of the times in culturally, and even in organizations, and many of our coaches and mentors, they tell us, focus on your strength, don't worry about your weakness, right? And that also kind of creates a kind of a block, mind block, or you want to call success block, with many of us saying that, okay, this is my strength, let me focus only on that. And we start noticing it something which is maybe a weakness, or it may not be a weakness, may start bothering us, because that may be required to grow to the next level. And if I don't work on that weakness, or so not so powerful, not so significant strength of mine, if I don't grow on that area, probably it may also stop me to grow into that next level, or a senior leadership, or whatever it is. But what is also critical for us is some of these behavioral patterns, or awareness patterns, or the way I behave, the way I carry myself as a leader, or an individual, or if I want to approach that success as a goal, there could be small changes, and these small changes can lead to majority or major results. We all know power of compounding. Small changes can lead to big results. And let's start asking this question, right? What is that hot button which will help us to bring some of these changes? If these bad habits, or if this some of the patterns what we're talking about, if it is not helping us to grow, then how do we do it? And how do you connect those patterns to one of these primary drivers, right? What Marshall Goldsmith calls, actually, there are 4 primary drivers. If you address these things, you will be able to start tackling one of these challenges what you are going through. And he says it could be a money, right, which is a primary motivating factor, which may be resulting or driving into the way we are behaving, the way we are trying to carry ourselves in a certain way. Or it could be power, right, authority. It could be status, or it could be popularity, right? Or many a times it's actually a combination of many of these things, right? If it is a combination of many of things, what is that primary driver which is maybe helping me, and which is not really helping me to go to the next level? So those awareness patterns. And of course, in the book, he actually talks about, why do you need a coach? Why do you really need could we call it as a career coach, or a mentor, or a life coach, or whatever you want to call it? All of us needs coach, because they will be able to help us to find many of these blind spots with the very objective, crucial conversations. And of course, you can take help from many of your known people, like families and friends and colleagues and all. We'll talk about it as we move forward. So author actually, after studying multiple leaders, so basically how Marshall Goldsmith gets engaged for executive coaching or a leadership is through something called he has a powerful framework of coaching, where he gets engaged by the senior leadership, like could be CEOs, CXOs kind of a world, and they start giving the potential candidates whom they have in mind to be taken up to the next level. When I say taken up to the next level, for example, if you look at any typical companies, you have a CXOs, and below that you will have senior VPs and directors and all the stuff. Below that you might be having program managers and portfolio managers and all. And in most of the organizations, there's something called as talent pipeline, and there will be many initiatives to grow some of these leaders, and they spend a good amount of time and focus to help these potential candidates to go to the next level, and so on and so forth. And they engage leadership coaches, they engage multiple interventions to make these people grow. And after doing so many such interventions, and talking to these leaders, right from mid-level, junior level leadership management team till CXO level, even till CXO's level, he found some of these bad habits or anti-patterns or interpersonal flaws, if you want to call it, as a significant patterns, and that is what was not helping these people to grow to the next level. That was the reason why they were not handpicked. And many a times this was called out in few cases to these people, but some cases it was not called. And many other cases, as being human beings, right, when somebody calls you that, hey, you know what, if you make this difference or a change, you will really grow. Many times we don't pay attention because we get into that comfort zone of success and that illusion and belief system that I am what it is. You accept me as is, otherwise, do whatever kind of that kind of things will kick in. So let's look at some of these anti-patterns or behavioral patterns and categorize them. For example, right, it could be two such examples I'm taking out from here is sharing too much information. This can be a bad as a leader sometimes because you may want to hold on to certain information based on the confidentiality or proprietary or IP or based on your role or a level where you are in. Or there are other set of leaders who don't share any information at all. Both extremes are good. And in many of these patterns, what Marshall Goldsmith talks about is a balance act. And we all know, right? It is what we typically call as an ambivalence model. Nothing is extremely left or extremely right is good or bad, but it's all about balancing many of these many of these attributes what we're talking about in a leadership team. The moment if you start able to balance it, and first point is to figure it out where I am, which side I am, extreme left or extreme right, whatever the scale you want to measure it, and then making some conscious effort to make some changes there. It could be it could be emotion or whatever it is. So now what do we do is we will look at some of these interpersonal behavioral challenges or issues what Marshall Goldsmith talk about. So let me do a quick time check. Yeah, it is 28. We are doing good. So I would not go in detail for all of them because I'm going to share this. This video is there with you, and there is a list which is given and published openly by Marshall Goldsmith. It is accessible. All of you can go ahead and use that. So if you look at some of this pattern, and let's spend some time. And before we go here, I would like to do some honest confessions here on how did I do some of these experiments. So when I read this book, I got to know many of these blind spots about myself when I was leading a team, and I was asking certain questions to my boss, as well as I was asking the same questions to my team. And I was fortunate to work with some of the best managers and leaders in the last couple of years. And thanks to many of them, because what I am today, and they were able to give me a lot of good perspective about many of these things, right? So how did I use it is I created some kind of a checklist for myself that, these are certain things which I am able to see myself. For example, adding too much value in all the meetings, all the conversations. I always wanted to put my my thoughts. In a way, it is good if you are really you want to really add some conversation, and you know the topic and you have some perspective. It's good too. But have you noticed certain people, they want to speak just because they want to speak, and every meeting you'll see such leaders. They do a lot of gaga about it, right? Oh, I know this, I have done this, and what if we do this, what if we don't do this, kind of a thing. It is that urge for many of us to add my own 2 cents, in every conversation. And that is something. It is not good, because what Marshall Goldsmith says, that he, after interviewing many such leaders, their team member says, you know what, leave it alone as a team. This is what agility we also talk about, right? Self-organized cross-functional team. Give them the purpose, make the purpose clear, and make the why and what very clear. Let them figure it out, the how part. So as a leader, I don't want to get into too much of how part. I don't have to speak in all the occasions. One of the toughest skills we can learn as maybe a coaches and trainers, and maybe many a times as a leaders, is keeping our mouth shut, right? So, and I started noticing some of these behavioral pattern in myself, honestly. And I did some questionnaire on 360-degree kind of feedback with my team, and they gave me certain patterns. And then I'm observing myself. Okay, how am I doing it? Should I wait here? Should I, what should I do? So we'll talk about how to overcome many of these things in the next couple of slides. So do spend some time here, and I would like you to maybe call out, in your experience, have you seen you behaving? Let's not talk about your manager or your super boss or your team member. That's the easy thing to do. And as a human beings, that's what we tend to do, right? Oh, my boss exhibits these patterns. My boss is like this, and my super boss is like that. Let's not talk about them. Let's be selfish and let's talk about me, or let's talk about you as an individual. After seeing this, maybe I'll give you a minute for you to read. Do you see any specific one or two such things which is maybe holding you back, or maybe you think which is not helping you to be a good team player, or it could be not helping you to grow? Let's spend some time, have some conversation. So anybody wants to unmute and talk about it? So let me start myself, right? I had this pattern of 12, which is making excuses. So it's like, if you're not meeting some commitments, or if you're not able to do certain things, right? The easy thing for us is, I could not do it, sorry, that's it. If I have to really be authentic. The other way is, oh, you know what, I could not do this, I could not honor it because, and the moment we start giving a lot of these excuses and explanations, and many a times even my leaders or even customers or whosoever it is, they don't want to listen to excuses for sure. I mean, if they are really particular, and they may ask genuinely, okay, what happened, why you could not do it? But many a times you don't have to. You just say, we could not do it, give me this so and so time, I will get it done. It could be that, instead of giving those excuses. And forget giving to others. Many a times we give excuse to ourselves. Assume that you want to do some course or learn something, and okay, let me do this after 1 year or 2 years, when something happens. I don't think this is suitable. You are giving excuse to yourself, not to somebody else. Yes, Chaitanya, go ahead. You raise your hand, go ahead. You can unmute and speak.
Yes, this happens normally at entry level, right? You don't have too much experience, and then you're confused. Yeah. So when you go at entry level, first job, you're doing everything, and then you're not sure. Absolutely. But if you spend a little bit of time on self-development, which is very important. Yeah. It's not all about yourself. Absolutely. Or neither it's all about your work. So you're not pushing yourself crazy and you're burnt out in the first year of work. Absolutely. Like, sort of a balance. At the same time, you can't be like a pushover. Like everybody tells you to do everything, you're taking too much on work, and then you're not able to deliver. So there's a little bit of thing and everything where you come to a balance. And at the end of the day, you are responsible for yourself.
Absolutely, very well said.
You have to develop your skills such a way that you can take the next jump. Don't Absolutely. Think your organization is responsible for your development. That Absolutely. Is a wrong notion.
Very well nailed, Margaret. In fact, thanks for that. Just to look back, many of us in our college mates, or maybe in the organization when we started as a freshers, so many of our peer level, they would have grown, or they would have surpassed them, maybe in a certain positions or whatever. And many of us, or many of the team members, maybe get stuck there. The reason could be personal choices, as you rightly said, or many a times it could be one of these attributes, right? What you rightly said is very powerful. In our journey, these things actually comes as an experience. These things comes as an mindset, what we typically call it. How do you take many of your experiences from the earlier career and get rid of these patterns quickly, and then probably we'll be able to overcome that and move forward. Yes, Rishi.
Yes, Manju, I agree with you. And even though for me, I have to get rid of the bad habit. Number two, adding too much value, because normally what happens when I'm in the discussion and when I see some decision which is not right as per me, I always think I do not speak, or I do not pass on my decision, but at least there will be some resistance from my side. in that decision and maybe in the project itself. So I have to, I think, let go team. Sometimes better to go with the team and to at least experience the decision of the team, because we may not be right every time. The other thing what I have to learn is to empower, because normally whenever in the project mode, I think that I will be better doing this job rather than the other person doing it. So I have to have a transition from individual performer to the leadership role. So it's two bad habits for me. I have to learn to at least let go this two bad habits.
Thanks for that. That's a great awareness, right? Self-awareness is the best awareness, right? And
Yeah,
moreover,
Manju. Yeah.
Yeah, at the same time, Rishi, I mean, you know what? If something is burning within your heart, a tone is everything. You don't have to shout. Tell them nicely, can we do it this way? What do you think? If you do the coaching course, you'll know. I think I did coaching through AgileWaters only. So you make it suggest that, you make it suggest as if it's coming from them. You say, man, if you do it like this, what do you think? So because at least you got it off your chest. Because tomorrow, if the project goes turtle and you knew it was going and you didn't make it, then you are guilty too. Because of course, that's what I would have done. I said, oh, can we do it like this? What do you think? Be very this at the same time, get your message across.
Right.
My 2 cents.
Yes.
there's a fine balance for sure. You're right. One
So
is,
similarly, Manju.
they're heading towards disaster. So of course, it doesn't make sense to hold on. Probably you should speak up and share your perspective and share your risks and all. But many a times what we do is we just want to talk because we want to talk. Those are certain patterns which he talked about. And if you see many of these things, it's pretty much aligned with what we typically call leadership agility. When you are a leader and the way we are exhibiting agile values, many of them should be aligned. Yes, Vijay. Sorry, you were saying something to cut you off.
Yes, I also had number 4 and number 21, like making destructive comments and too much goal obsession. Many times while I was actually with management or people, I never used to see the levels. I always used to say what I feel is right, but I never knew there are ways to say right. And how about goal obsession? And then I worked with one of my very senior executive in a company, and then he coached me. And then I mean, my blinders were kind of open, and then I got to know, oh my, okay, this is what is mistake. And then fortunately, he's also working with us now as a senior coach. He's like roughly 52 years of experience in industry, and he was at a very senior level, or he is at a senior level. So I mean, amazing. I took coaching from him twice, and just in a few days, it was amazing result. And yes. So I can proudly say that I'm away from this situation now.
Absolutely. And many of the what we call sarcastic people or nasty people kind of a thing, right? So the more and more higher up if you are going, and if you exhibit this nasty behaviors or sarcastic, do you really start respecting that person as a leader, or
no, that's very childish. That's being very childish.
Exactly. You might see that person, since because of the hierarchy or authority, you may still that person as a manager, but not as a leader, not as a somebody, a visionary or a leader, right? So negativity. So each one of them are very good. I mean, claiming credits. How many of you work with managers where you prepare all the slides, you prepare all the research, you prepare everything, and they go and present in front of their manager? Oh, I did it. If it is a true leader,
it's a little bit of a country culture also. I think it happens more in India because they try to subdue you, but not so much in North America.
I mean, I would say it is there everywhere. Sorry to say that, because I work with most of the other cultures, being a consultant, across all the countries. It's all about being human. Human beings are same across the world. But certain cultures, certain countries may have a bias, the way we think, the way we act and behave. But in general, these are like being human, right? Being angry, being jealous, being not able to give credit. It's common pattern. What I've seen.
Yeah, Manju, but I would like to appreciate so many friends of ours in this forum actually said that I have these bad habits. I mean, bad or good, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you identify it, I think that's the first step. And second biggest step that you have taken is publicly telling that this is what I have, declaring it. I think this is a great achievement that you already been into that particular step of improving. Amazing.
Yeah. And what is so important nowadays in the pandemic world, and we are working in this remote world, is 16, not listening. You know, your people will be on a Zoom call or Teams call, and people don't come on video, and you keep asking, "Hey, are you all with me? Do you listening? Do you have anything?" People will be like, so you start feeling frustrated, like as if you're talking to your laptop, right? That's one thing which I'm really missing. And how do you overcome? It's by simple working agreements. And when I started coaching in the current company, the what I really like, the moment you go to a certain country, right? Again, it may be a country specific behavior patterns. So they are always on video. Even if it is a small short call, they are always on video because they want to really hear you and give you a time and things like that. So this is one bad behavior. For example, you go to a meeting, you have one-on-one with a certain person, and you are working on laptop or you are chatting on mobile, or hey, you know what, I'm listening to you, but just go ahead kind of thing. How does it feel? The same thing happens in family also, right? You are maybe a kids or spouse or somebody wants to talk to you, and if you're occupied with something, is how it feels very weird, isn't it? I mean, after some time they'll start talking to you saying that, hey, if you are free and really want to listen to me, come, let's talk, otherwise let's stop it. So, I mean, it is more prominent even in office kind of an environment. If you don't listen to people carefully, so it might get into a problem. And that's the biggest problem or challenge is identified in the leadership assessments. Like, my boss don't listen to me. He or she is already comes with a preoccupied mindset, preoccupied decisions, just pushing it and pushing it. Another one of the point which I really like, which I stopped doing it after realizing, is when somebody comes out with an idea, so yeah, as we say, as a leaders, as a coaches, in the agility kind of an world, what is required is make the purpose clear, make the intent clear, make it why clear, and let team figure it out how to do it. But I used to do is, when somebody comes with an idea, I used to add something to that. It is like adding too much, or there's one more anti-pattern called improvising it. I'm too much obsessive about improving whatever I see. Improving, it's there in somewhere. Excessive need to be me, that is also there, passing on the buck. So what used to happen is, I started observing a pattern. When I used to say, yeah, this idea is very good, but the moment I open up and say, but, yeah, starting with no and but, it is here, right? Overuse of these negative qualifiers, secretly convey to everyone that I am right, you are wrong. And I used to say, yeah, this idea is so awesome, but this idea is so, but you know what, it may not work in our culture, it may not work in our org, it may not work kind of a thing. Or you say, oh, can you improvise on this, so and so kind of thing. The moment we stopped saying this is no more that person's idea. That person will, some people may start seeing that, okay, my idea is already gone, thrashed. Why should I worry about it? If you have some idea and you want to improvise on it, better you work on it. And have you noticed many organizations, this is how many of these great initiatives are killed. We do a lot of this brainstorming, idea generations and idea backlog or whatever we call it, and very few of them get implemented. One of the reason is because of this. So
yeah,
then is it wrong?
then people stop giving ideas only.
Yeah. And is it wrong to give my perspective? Is it wrong to not to add? I would say it depends, but many a times let that idea get started. If that person has an idea, we'll say, okay, go ahead and try it, go ahead and experiment. And it may work and it may not work based on your intelligence, your whatever cognizance or your sixth sense. You knew it may not work, but in the first instance, instead of giving that feedback or thought process, let them experiment. And the moment they come back and you do some kind of a reflection or retro, you can pass on your perspective. Then that person may be in a position to accept it and move on, rather than in the first friend saying, oh, this is what should be done, this is how you should be doing, right? So these are some of the the day-to-day things, the way we behave as a leaders and coaches and trainers and managers, and even in personal life. So the moment you start observing these patterns and maybe make a little bit of change, so a lot of things will start happening in our life. Okay, let us move on. So then how can we change some of these things for the better? So one is definitely a feedback. As they say, feedback is the champion, breakfast for champions, right? It's easier to see from somebody else's perspective. There are multiple tools and techniques available, like Johari window, 360-degree feedback, ask for people. It could be bottom up or top down. The best people, and I keep making a joke, right? If you want to really understand your interpersonal challenges, talk to your spouse. They'll be able to give you many of these things very clearly, right? Or it could be your close friends. It could be your, it could be your mentor sometimes, right? So it doesn't matter whatever degree feedback you're taking, 360-degree, 180-degree, but take it. Doesn't matter, just get it. And, identify those blind spot by yourself, or maybe, and many a times, this is what I have also noticed, we are not too much different in office and home. And the moment we start to behaving way different in office and home, that is where a lot of stress will start building. Our, personality will start getting kind of deteriorated. It's my personal belief again. I may be wrong. The way we behave in office sometimes may not be so different than what we behave in home. So we tend to carry those things back home. So be cognizant about many of these things, right? Body language and all those stuff can be a good indicator to get this. So, and what will you do if somebody comes and bluntly gives you some feedback, right? Or opens up or gives you this blind spot. So just say, okay, I'm sorry, I will try to be better in the future, rather than arguing and trying to give this justification, all those stuff. Many a times these feedbacks are really important for us, right? So he says that one of the other thing which you can try and test it out is you can also give some kind of a commitment. You know what? Yes, thanks for bringing it up. I'm already aware and I already started working on it. You will see these results. You will see these changes in some time. That kind of builds that commitment, and also the person on the other side will start behaving. Oh, okay, authentically this person is sharing. Authentically this person is trying to commit or is willing to change. So that will bring in a lot of change in the game. Okay. So of course the listening is the best mantra, which is that's why we say even in coaching, the best one of the skill you need to have is powerful questioning and listening, active listening and powerful questioning, right? So keeping our mouth shut, we talked about it. Expressing gratitude, right? The easy thing what is available in this universe is gratitude. Thank people, recognize their good behaviors, and that's one thing I keep when I do coaching for Scrum Masters. I say start all the meetings or at least the retrospective with recognitions, and this is the easily available, which we hardly use, even for in your family when somebody is serving you a coffee or tea, or just use those thank yous and recognize helping each other kind of a thing. And what is also interesting is focus on feed forward. What is feed forward? So Marshall Goldsmith talks about the difference between feedback and feed forward. Feedback is typically considered as past and correction, not good kind of a thing, whereas feed forward is focused more on what can you do to improve your future kind of a thing, right? What is also doing is important is not just identifying these blind spots, but consciously working on this. That is where leadership is typically a skill or competence. We need to practice it. It doesn't happen over time. And in fact, the leadership programs which I and some of the coaches through Agile Leadership Journey, what we are facilitating is, it is actually not one-time training, right? We create a kind of a cohort, a team of people coming together, doing this reflection, 360-degree kind of a view. We pick some ideas, we go and experiment, we seek this feedback within the cohort and across the cohort, and so that is where some of this you can start implementing and start seeing some behavioral changes, and that will be the biggest thing what we can doing it. So in a crux, the core skills or core competencies, hard skills are vital, no doubt about it. But it has to be a balance with your soft skill, the personality, the leadership attributes, what we are talking about, right? Because end of the day, it is not the pure technology skills or hard skills, but what matters is also the other side. And the lot of research shows, right, from Harvard University and Forbes, that it is not those expertise skills, your domain or technology skills, which can be learned. The hardest thing will be to learn the software aspect or a leadership aspect. And many organizations are literally struggle on the right side. That is where this is a huge industry by itself. Leadership coaching, the coaching as an industry, or personality development, personal, the development. This itself is a huge industry, because as a human beings, it is not natural to many of us. We need to really work on this to really hone those skills. And if you are looking for any of those support as a career mentoring and progression, life coaching, or executive leadership kind of a coaching and engagement, please do reach out to us or Vijay or our team. So one of us will be able to help you. So with that context, so many a times these are uncomfortable stuff. When you start hearing these feedbacks, start identifying some root cause. It could be your success mantra. Sometimes these root cause could be in your childhood. It could be in certain unknown area. So find out some way to get into that root cause and try to fixing it, right? So as they say, right, subconscious mind could be a root of many of these things. So we may have to use some of the unconventional technique like NLPs or hypnotherapy or whatever, if you are really finding it hard to come out of these behavioral patterns, which is not helping you to grow as an individual or a leader, or could be any patterns, right? Don't hesitate to hear the truth. There is no ideal behavior. By the way, you may start thinking that what may seen as a wrong or not so good may be a perception again, right? And again, there's one of the 21 bad habits. It says, don't try to be too much perfect. Don't have that obsession of winning, that I need to do it and I need to be perfect. So be open, be an healthy, balance of these things, and have a measurement system in place. Measurement in these cases could be a feedback. It could be observing yourself and knowing these things. And when you make some changes, monetize yourself. In this book, actually, Marshall Goldsmith this does a lot of experiment with his own team members. Whenever he uses certain words or certain unacceptable things, he tells his teams to notify it, and he used to give them $1,000. And he does it for a couple of times, and he said, oh my God, I'm spending so much money for unacceptable behavior, and he stops doing it. And similar examples, if you want to draw it from your agile experience, could be some people are not turning up on time for your meetings. We put together those working agreements. And in Pune, in some of our teams, we used to create something called as Vada Pav meters. Somebody was running late, so we'll put a tick for that person. And for that retrospection, that person will bring so many Vada Pavs, kind of a thing. It's more of a fun and learning, but there's a certain message that this behavior is not acceptable. And especially I tried out in some of my teams, and it worked really well. The next month onwards, this person behavior, coming to the office, coming to that team meetings on time, improved a lot, because many a times that the pressure of not being pressure of being labeled as late, and monetary part, because you have to throw a party, all of those things sometimes creates that pressure for us to really make a change, right? And many of us, they say, oh, you know what, I know this is how I am, and this is my personality, I will take care of it. There's no thing called later. It's now. Start doing it now, otherwise it will never happen, right? So this is in general what I wanted to share, and it's a great book. I would recommend you to buy a physical book or whatever. I'm a big fan of audiobooks. I read through Kindles as well as audiobooks. Buy this book. A lot of case studies and interesting examples Marshall Goldsmith uses in this book. Try experimenting it, and I would love to hear some of your experiences. Maybe after a month or two, we can do a recap of these with another Marshall Goldsmith book, and then we can connect back. So some key takeaway from my perspective before I open up the forum for further conversation: it is the behavioral patterns, not the technical, which are separate from the great and near to the great. You can start noticing it in even in your organizations. It is not those hardcore technical guys who are handpicked to lead, but most of these guys who can be really collaborative, networking, who can take people along, who are really open-minded for feedback and growth and all those stuff. So and incredible result can come from practicing some of these behavioral patterns, like thanking and listening and thinking before you speak, apologizing for your mistake. And you will see some of these patterns in a lot of senior leaders. Okay, first step is making awareness and willing to change, right? Higher you are in the organization, your suggestions are treated as order. This is be very careful. the moment I speak up, if I'm a VP or a director, even if my intention is not to give certain directions, but to make people think, people will start taking my words as a granted, and they will go and jump into those directions. So be cautious about this, and it can be applied to any role, any position, because if you have an authority, when you speak something, your team may see that as an order and start experimenting it. So be watchful about that. Their own interest, but it's also aligned with values. And this is a huge conflict with many of us. Our roles doesn't match to our behavioral patterns. Those roles doesn't match to your personality. If you are going through those crises, I would strongly recommend you to seek professional help, like career mentorings, or doing your personality assessment, your skill assessment, because many of us don't grow in careers because our value system, our skills is something else, and you are doing something else. Simple example is, you are a very creative person. Assume that you are put it in an operation kind of an environment with a lot of data and analysis. You get really frustrated because it is not your cup of tea. Right? On the other side, you are a very analytical, very strong in decision kind of a thing. And if you are put it in a very creative sales marketing kind of a thing, you will not like it because you don't want to use that creativity thing. So doing our understanding of our personality type assessment is a great psychological psychometric way. And by the way, because of all this sheer interest in leadership and psychological topic what we are talking about, I started doing my master's in psychology. So this is a very fascinating world of leadership and personality. So I would encourage you to spend some time here. So create this top what not to do checklist, or to stop list rather than to do list. From my point of view, that's where the title also says what not to do, or what not to do list for leaders. Identify this, what is really driving you. And many of us make these destructive comments and critical comments. Before doing it, just ask, is it worth it? Is it really true? Is it based on the fact, or am I just making a judgment because of whatever? Is it worth doing it, right? Don't tell people how smart you are. Nobody cares, right? Because end of the day, what matters is what the value you're bringing in and how you're able to work together and make a difference, right? You don't have to showcase that you are so gaga about yourself, but that doesn't matter many a time. So so that's all I wanted to just convey, right? Goals obsession is a blindness of goal pursuit, and defensive about few these things and all the stuff. So you can take care of many of these things, and be gratitude, express your thanks more. And with that, I would like to thank you for listening to me for nonstop for last 60 minutes. I can be reached on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn profile called MS Manju Rao. If you have any questions, I will stop sharing it, and we can probably, I did not time box it. Sorry for that. I did not honor the commitment of time box. Vijay, I'm very sorry. You wanted to take a few minutes to talk about AgileWaters, then floor is open, folks, for your sharing your experiences, thoughts, and was it worth spending? I know I wanted to do a quick retro with Mentimeter and do a roti, but we are already past 9 minutes past the time box. I would like to quickly open up the forum for if you have any feedback. Was it really worth spending an hour with this session? Was it worth roti? Roti for us is return on time investment, right? Any thoughts? Quick thoughts?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, Shankar, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, of course, because you can't develop yourself only technical and not have interpersonal skills, right? So they're all related. Much as it's easy to work, it's hard also. So if you take it in develop yourself, it will be easy and you'll have fun, which is very, really important. And when you're having fun, you don't feel you're working, because your mind in that state of, you're enjoying every day. Whereas if you're going with all this heavy heart, you don't enjoy work and your productivity also suffers. So attitude is makes a lot of difference. Sure.
Absolutely. Any other parting comments, thoughts?
Yeah, this coaching course is really good. I did it, and first thing our professor tells us, Do you know that you can teach swimming without knowing swimming? You can be a swimming coach without knowing swimming. We were all shocked. How can you do that? Saying, yeah, that's what coaching is about. You never need to be an expert in anything to coach someone. And then when we did the exercise and all, it was so amazing. I told my brother also go and do it. And that's true for, like you said, we can use it in the family also. You have a child who is confused, then you use your coaching skills where you put an onus on them that the ideas are coming from them and they will follow those ideas. The minute you tell them to do it, they'll not do it. It's really a nice art. If anybody gets a chance to do this coaching course, please do it. It's really good. Highly recommend it.
It's an art and
yeah, it's coaching. Yeah, it's recommended.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, as a coach, sometimes you need to be coached by somebody else, as if you're a doctor, you don't treat yourself. That there has to be third party view. And as a coach, as I told you, I also had a lot of blinders, and then I had to taken out of it. So it is not just that somebody will tell you that you have a blinder and then you'll come out of it. No, there's a long journey that you have to actually go through. I have gone through it twice. And then even today, when I coach people, there might be certain problems that I have. I still reach to the coach that I was actually referring to, who's actually working with us as a career coach, a very senior guy. So, I mean, still it's helpful throughout my life. I think I would not go away from taking advice or coaching from someone. So, yeah. So, Manju, that was really wonderful. I didn't knew that's an expression of a book, but the way you actually presented, especially those 21 topics, that was really amazing. I mean, it nailed it. I think people can start right from day one identifying themselves. Yeah.
In fact, I have that checklist available. Maybe I'll share it.
Yeah. So we also started sharing the PPTs on our website. So do come to our website, and we also have this channel, the YouTube channel. So whatever recordings that we have done until today for almost a year or so, every recording you will find it on our YouTube channel. The only request is maybe if you can just subscribe and hit the like button, that would be really, really awesome. So if you want to reach us for any community or coaching related, these are the numbers that I actually shared, and any training or certification, these are the numbers that are shared on your screen. So any agile related coaching certifications, community coaching, these are all the topics that we take. And we are also one of the biggest consulting company in India who does a lot of corporate coachings, corporate trainings also. And we also help Scrum Masters and product owners and agile coaches with their expertise. So yeah, that would be great. Please, if you have anything, you can also have any questions on the top number, that 940504560. Just WhatsApp us and we would like to help you with. We also have a WhatsApp community, so that we also answer there on WhatsApp and LinkedIn community. Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much for being here on a weekend learning journey, and see you soon in another session.
Yeah. So same time, that is this time 7:30 p.m. IST, same day, that is Saturday, and same location, that is the same Zoom link. So even if you forget to register, don't worry about it. Use the same link from the last session and you will be hitting here. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Manju. Thanks, Vijay.
Thank you.
Really appreciate and respect this noble work, for the community you're doing. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Avinash. Thank you. Thank you all. See you next Saturday.
Take care. Stay safe.